this video, we're going to talk about mark, release, recapture. Now, this technique can be used to estimate the size of an animal population when obviously we can't use quadrats. So we use quadrats to estimate the population size of plants or very, very slow moving animals. But for any other animal, we're going to use mark, release, recapture. So how do we do it? Well, first of all, we capture, then we count and mark. Okay, so you set up your traps or however you're going to catch these animals, you capture them, you count how many you've caught, and hopefully it's a large sample, because the larger the sample, the better the estimate will be. You mark them, then you release into their natural habitats. But it is important that we say allow enough time to fully mix or redistribute, check my spelling there, redistribute with the rest of the population. Because if you do your second catch too soon after doing your first catch, you're clearly just going to catch lots of the same animals again, because they're literally just going to be closer to the traps. So you do your first catch, count them, mark them, release them. Then make sure you leave enough time, at least 48 hours, so they fully mix, they fully redistribute with the rest of the population. Then you capture your second sample, and obviously you use the same method. So whatever kind of traps you used first time round, you're going to use the same method to capture for a second time. You count the number caught in your second sample, but you'd also need to count the number marked, because to calculate the population size, you're going to do the number marked in the first sample. That's a mistake, isn't it? The number caught. The number caught, or the number in the first sample, multiplied by the number caught in the second sample. So the number you caught the first time times by the number you caught the second time, divided by the number of marked individuals in the second sample. Or another way to think of that, it's the number of animals that you have recaptured, yeah? Because if they were marked in the second sample, that's telling you they were caught the first time as well, and then they were caught the second time for a second time. So the number of marked individuals in the second sample, or the number that were recaptured in that second sample. And that's it really. So we're capturing, we're counting, we're marking, releasing them, leaving enough time for them to fully mix or redistribute with the rest of the population. Then you catch the second sample using the same trapping method. Count the number caught, count the number marked, because you need to have this information, the number you caught the first time times the number you caught the second time, divided by the number of marked individuals in the second sample. Couple of other things just to think about though. If we want this to be a reliable estimate, or a representative estimate, I should say. Obviously we're going to leave enough time to fully mix after the first catch, but we need to think about other things, like we do want a large sample size. So we want to make sure that we catch enough individuals in the first catch, and we also catch enough individuals in the second catch. Large sample size is going to help to make our estimate representative. We also want to make sure that when we mark the individuals, when we catch them in that first sample, that the mark does not affect their survival chances. So for example, the mark should not make them more visible to predators. The mark should be non-toxic, because if it affects their survival chances, that is going to affect how accurate our estimate is in the end. We also want to make sure the mark doesn't rub off or wash off in the rain, because again, that would make our estimate very inaccurate if we were not able to see which individuals had been marked the first time. And there's assumptions that we're making as well, right? Like we're assuming that in between the time we caught the first sample and the second sample, there's been no births, there's been no reproduction, there's been no deaths. We're assuming there's been no immigration, movement into the population, or migration out of the population. So we are making assumptions, but if we want this to be as representative as possible, make sure the mark is non-toxic, does not affect survival, give them plenty of time to fully mix after that first catch, and make sure you get a large sample size. And I think that is everything on mark, release, recapture. Fast, I know, but hopefully you found the video useful.